What's up, everyone? My name is Wes, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For today's episode, I got to talk with Mike Kota, a Minneapolis-based songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. Towards the end of October, Mike released her debut EP, Rift. We got to chat about the long journey these songs have taken, the joys of creating music on your own, and more. Without any further ado, here's my interview with Mike Kota on the Ear Coffee Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. You guys gave me coffee, so I'm really good.
We're happy
now.
to provide coffee,
Thank you.
at least to the musicians and artists that come to our house. If you just show up at our house, we're probably not going to give you coffee. So just to get things started, why don't you do a brief introduction? It's your own project. We're going to be talking about the EP you recently put out, so under your own name. So it's kind of weird, but just kind of, what do we need to know? Just about your initial kind of like what do you primarily do artistically and musically?
Cool. So my name is Mike Kota. I am 23. I am officially a college dropout as of a year ago.
Let's go.
Yeah, thank you. And it took me much longer than the last year to create this EP. I have way too much music, and I've been way too stubborn and hyper independent. So I only got a 5-song EP out. Most of it was largely like self-recorded and self-produced and stuff. But I worked with Caleb Hintz on one track for to help me produce and mix that. That was on my side. He helped me finish that one up. And then a random guy on soundbetter.com, because I had a whole experience just letting go of my control. So it was easier to just not know who I was working with. But so this guy, Tyler Pratt, his name is on SoundBetter. You can find him. So he helped to finish the mix and master on 2 of the tracks, Every Damn Day and Selfish, and then the other 2 were all me. But a nice taste tester palette of the range that I would like to be showing or displaying as my first project out. But yeah.
Cool. We'll talk a lot more about that. That EP is Rift, just came out about a few weeks ago as of recording. I like starting interviews in a very similar way. I find that pretty much any musician or artist, person that puts themselves out there in an artistic field, has had a long-lasting relationship with music or art and have had really some formative experiences early on that really kind of set them on this path. So I'm curious, what were some of your really the first experiences with music that you had that were very formative, that stood out to you and eventually led you to play in bands, write your own songs, record yourself, just do all of the many things that you currently do and create?
Nice. I feel prepared because I just applied for like an early childhood teaching job for teaching music. Yeah, because I'm not qualified to do pretty much anything in this world. But so I had to talk about that in my cover letter. So here we go. I don't like theory. Theory was like, I don't know, just a deterrent from music. So my parents put me on piano lessons when I was a kid and hated that. It was just like me and some random dude in my parents' basement, just like, this is okay. And then didn't retain that information. But I made my mom teach me fur release when I was like 10, of course. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is
Great.
Good classical music. Let's get into it. And so I learned that by memory. And that was like something like I prided myself on secretly, but it was also just really fun to play as like a kid, like just play like a full song by myself. And that was really awesome. And then we had a guitar around the house, but I didn't really get into it. I just really wanted to sing and write music, and I would always be in my basement just like playing around, but I didn't have the will to learn how to read music or anything. So it was really just messing around and doing the most basic, boring things. Yeah. Eventually that builds into starting to write songs, and then I pick up a guitar. I went to Italy when I was a sophomore in high school, and they had a guitar there that was like my host siblings or whatever. And so I started playing there, and then I came home, started to take myself a little bit more seriously, could maybe like play a chord or two, but I still didn't know bar chords. It was only till I met my bandmates after my junior year of high school, going into my senior year at this McNally Smith camp that, met up with them. I was the worst one on the team, but that's how you grow, is like,
That's true.
But
Yeah.
I learned that with soccer first. Just like, it sucks to be, yeah. Anyways, so they taught me he taught me my first bar chord. I was always writing a lot of stuff and then bringing it to them, and just, a lot of it was me catching up and doing all the work to catch up to be good enough to play with them, but also at the same time knowing that I had value because I was the one bringing the base of the songs, the bones of the songs, most of the time, not all the time, to the band. So that was definitely a formative experience, just to have them. Also in high school, just to have like a couple women around me, Josie, she goes by Josephine now, and then my friend Cho, who were into music, and it was that healthy competition, just like being like blown away by my friends, and then being like, oh my God, that's so cool, but like I also need to go write a cool song now because I'm jealous a little bit. So
And that's how I'm sure so much music has been, like, where the artistic fuel has come from, like seeing someone that you like respect or look up to and care about creating something. You're like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I want to also make something cool.
It was permission, and I like that. Sometimes you have to just see people thrive around you and then decide for yourself whether it's really jealousy, envy, or inspiration.
That's very well said. When you first started writing, not just like playing guitar and like learning kind of the instrumental side of things, but when you first really dove into writing songs, was that, you kind of mentioned that was before you formed your band, and that just kind of been a constant in your life? Were you writing pretty much just for yourself? Like, or were you thinking, I'm going to join a band and bring this to the band, even before you ended up in that situation? Was it, or did it start more like, I'm writing this just for me because I want to write something?
Yeah, it was really just for me. I didn't take myself seriously, or like, I didn't even begin to take myself seriously or try to, until there were other people around me saying like, oh, this sounds good, when it was just like a cover or something. And then eventually like trying the writing aspect of it. And of course, I just remember I was really inspired when I was like a kid I saw Miley Cyrus singing Jolene, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna write myself like a little like love, like painful love song on the piano. And it was something just like Jolene, where it was like, don't take my man. Me like in my parents' basement playing like a 3-key chord, like yes. Starts out, you gotta start out small.
Start out small, but I mean,
and don't share it with
the
anybody.
number of people that I've talked to who, like, their musical origins were like pop punk cover bands in middle school. Like, there's no shame in just kind of like the weird little places that we first put ourselves out there with music. Yeah. Whether it's Jolene, like, inspired little anthem in your basement or whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So we'll kind of just briefly cover Good Luck Finding Iris. That was the band you're still a part of, technically, since the band is on hiatus, but spent several years working with and singing and writing with. You formed in 2015, correct?
Yes.
Ish?
Yep. Yeah.
And put out 2 EPs, handful of singles and whatnot. That's how I first came across your music. I don't know if, I think a lot of people just recommended the band, honestly, at the end of podcasts. They're like, yo, if you haven't heard these guys, check them out. And so I was like, okay, you're like the third person to do this. I should have done this already.
Right.
So that's always really cool to relay. But since it's been even a few years since the band has put anything out and maybe even worked on anything, just with the benefit of some hindsight, what's something you learned as a songwriter and as a musician? Those can be the same thing, those can be separate, just from this time, working with these other 3 musicians and being in this environment? You already kind of touched on this, so we can kind of just go a little deeper on that if you wanted.
Yeah. Let's see. I would say probably the joy of playing with other people. They gave me a lot of confidence. Like I was showing up to them with like the first song that I had written, that how we basically formed the band around was the song Color Me, and bringing it to them, to like transform it into something that was much bigger than just me and my guitar in a bedroom or whatever. And then just like it was a very basic song. But they gave me a lot of confidence, and also it was just fun. It was cool to be like a 17-year-old in a band going, like, I didn't know anybody like me. I went to Cretan-Durham Hall. So I guess I was also maybe infatuated and romanticizing my own, like infatuated with the idea of being in a band. And I think that experience was formative, and they kept me grounded and humbled as much as one can. But yeah, I just formed really good relationships, and I learned a lot about what I do and don't like when I'm working with other people and collaborating, where I like to maintain control, and then like where I can learn and where I can better myself. And then yeah, I just learned a lot. It was, I mean, it's my end of high school, and then it's beyond high school, the most formative year.
Yeah, just discovering kind of like the artistic boundaries you wanted to set, and then the parts where it's, as a solo artist, I can't quite imagine how this is because I have never been in that role, but like the act of like ceding control. I mean, like, okay, I need to let go of this part, and here are the parts that my bandmates or one of my bandmates or whoever can best handle or like musically satisfy or whatever.
Right.
That's difficult to do when just people don't like to let go.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe the band will be back someday.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I hope so.
We hope. Yes, I am in that camp as well. Jumping back a little bit, now kind of just talking about the music you've put out under your own name and like entirely self-created, or minus something, the production credits you mentioned. But you put out your first song, at least that I was able to find, back in 2018, well before this EP was getting rolled out and like the singles, and now coming out with Wasted Time in August of 2018. When was that song written? What was kind of like the timeline for creating that? And also, why just put that one out as it's your debut single, and it's, at least as of now, still just kind of like a loose one-off song that's just floating separately from anything. So just what was kind of the thought process in putting that out? Talk a little bit about the song's creation and everything to go with it.
Nice. I would say there was not much thought process in putting it out. I was just stoked on the song that I had finally finished something. So I started writing that when I was in my freshman year at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles for film school. So that was the first college that I went to. And yeah, I wrote that I've obviously was writing a bunch, but that was just the one that got finished, that I could manage to finish first, because I was attempting to mix everything myself as well. So I recorded that in my dorm, and I just listened to like one of my first podcast interviews the other day. I didn't get through all of it because I was doing a lot. So hopefully I'm a little bit better on that. But I just listened to it. It was, the guy had, his name was Chance. He visited me when I was at that school, and I was talking about making Wasted Time and how much of a struggle it was. But that's just funny in retrospect. It still is a struggle, but in a different way. But yeah, I made it on campus just to make sure that I could put something in my headphones that would be in key with the bell tower that would play every 15 minutes. That was the initial plan when I started making that like session. I put that out in 2018. As soon as I finished it and had some cover art, I was probably maybe like Selfish, which is a song from my EP that was probably written and started to be recorded around the same time.
Okay.
So the fact that like there wasn't a thought process, like
It was just kind of like
it was just
what
like,
you were able to finish.
exactly. And let's see if it can happen. I just want something out under my own name. I did all this by myself. I'm super proud. Like I don't care. I don't want anybody else's opinion on the mix because I'm fine with it, and kind of that just like young, just dive into it blind. I don't care if it's technically bad.
Yeah, and there's always gonna be someone who has like opinions on the mix that you've never met before.
Exactly.
Just gonna like, actually, and you're just like, I'm just trying to make songs.
Yeah.
Like, calm down, please.
Yeah, it's like I got it as good as I could, and then I just let it out there, and it did better than expected, but it took 3 years to get where it's at now.
Yeah, it takes time to grow. Cool. Now we'll fast forward back again to talk some more about the EP. Rift, like I said, came out just a few weeks ago. Were a lot of these songs written kind of over the past few years? Because you mentioned Selfish was started around that time. And I think you mentioned in that interview you did with The Current, or at least the blog post they kind of posted, that you wrote the title track a little bit more recently, maybe.
Yep.
So these songs have kind of been pulled from different periods in your life, it sounds like.
Yes.
How did you kind of go about assembling these tracks from all these kind of maybe disparate headspaces you were writing in and over the course of your last few years of your life? And so just talk a little bit about some of the writing.
Yeah.
Maybe just like lyrically, musically, because that's kind of the thing when you do everything. So you can talk about both.
Right. Yeah. So I've been working on this EP, but not like the EP that is out right now. I've been working on this EP, like a concept, quote unquote EP, for so long. So it's been a bunch of songs just trying to make their way in and just kind of fighting for a spot, just whoever could figure themselves out. But I think Every Damn Day was definitely a catalyst for it, because that one was started Halloween. I started it on Halloween of 2020. And that was just a fun little jam track thing that I was trying to just force myself to make something. And then it turned out to be all right. And then I wrote some lyrics that reflected everything that I've been feeling for the past maybe 3 years or so on this little music journey that I'm on. And it was just really about believing in myself, having worked so long on a lot of these songs, doubting myself, having people around me doubt me, and project that onto me. And then the fact that I had moved home, it was just a reflection on where I was at, and then how can I make that redemptive and give myself some affirmations at the same time. So that was that song. Let's see, On My Side, that was written when I was in Los Angeles, just like surrounded by cool people, nice people, people that weren't like me, and that's okay. And that's like, not everybody has to be like me to be my friend or to be a good person. Like, that's okay. But I definitely noticed a time where I was doing things or just like getting high with my friends, and then that's all they did. They would just like get high and do nothing, and I would get high and be like, all right, cool, now I want to go home and make music. Like, so it felt like I was very alone in California for a while. Although I did make a few good friends.
That's good.
Right. That one took a while. Let's see. Selfish. Yeah, that one started there as well. Actually, that one started as I had wrote the instrumental for it as a soundtrack thing for my friend's short film.
Okay.
He was doing his thesis, so if you want to check that out, my mom told me I have an IMDb page because she found my little soundtrack credit there. So it's called Rooftop
very official,
Kids.
very cool.
Yes, exactly. No, I was like, that's really cool, actually.
The database, wow.
Yeah, right. Should update that. Yep. So that one started out as a little kind of jam track, and then I made it into a quote unquote song with a chorus and verse and stuff. And then, the first time was Not Goodbye. That one was written in my year in Chicago when I moved to Chicago to go to Columbia College Chicago and do audio design and production.
Okay.
So that was my third year of college, right before I dropped out, and wrote that after heartbreak, a little breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one was good, and then Rift was just trying to finish that up. I actually just filmed and finished. I just put it out yesterday, but I didn't promote it at all because I am the worst. Maybe I'll get to that this week. I published a video that I did, like, the behind the scenes on how I created and recorded and wrote Rift.
I did
track.
see that. I didn't.
Okay.
I think I found it like last night and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll watch that. And then I will eventually.
Right,
Didn't get to
exactly.
it.
No, it's also a
Poor
super long
prep.
video too. So I was like, I just need to get it out. And then I
Yeah.
was like,
We'll
so
worry about it
tired.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Especially given that some of these songs were written back when you were still, when Good Luck Finding Iris was still active and you were still presumably at least writing for that. Did you know that these were going to be songs that were just for you when you were working on them? Or was there kind of like a different space you were typically in when you were writing something that either you kept for yourself and have either will be working on in the future, because I know you've already been working on new stuff, or have just kind of kept to yourself, or that you brought to the band and the band worked on? Like, were you able to distinguish between that, or was it just kind of a eventual, this feels better with just the stuff I'm working on, or this feels better back bringing it to the bandmates, if you ever did?
Right. I think I originally, when I was in the band and it was only the band and I was only thinking about the band, like everything that I wrote, I would just like bring to the band basically. Mm-hmm. And then over time, I started to realize like, well, like I like what they're doing and it's good, but I haven't even given myself the opportunity to see what I would do if I played lead guitar. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to play lead guitar, but maybe I want to.
Yeah.
Maybe I can hear something. Like maybe or like what would I do if I had the bass?
Yeah,
or
you're just finding out.
Yeah. And so it was just kind of that I started to get like this underlying like buildup of just like I'm not controlling these songs. Like I wish I had more control. It was just I think it was just like a buildup of like I wanna do it all. Like I wanna try it all myself. So eventually it got to me writing songs and being like, I could give this to the band, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to because I'm gonna try to do it myself. But then it was yeah.
No, that makes sense. That's fair. Have you noticed any, I guess, differences in how you've approached, I guess, songs you've written more recently, whether it's anything that might have ended up on the EP that you've written, I guess, in the last year or so or more recently, or even the stuff you've been writing now that has yet to be finished or see the light of day, versus some of the earlier songs you wrote or maybe even wrote in LA, wrote before that? Has the process changed, kind of regardless of whether it was a solo song or back in the day a Good Luck Finding Iris song? Just what has been the growth or the differences in how you've approached these songs?
I think before, like, I always use music for the most part. Like when I'm going through something like a big mad or big sad, I have to get through it through music. I'll like be writing about something just because like I'll get heated, and then I have like for some reason I get heated and like I make a rhyme in my head, and then I'm like, yes, that goes right in my notes app because that's gonna be so petty. I think it's like part of it is a petty thing to get it out. But yeah, actually that's a great point. I should figure that out. Like how much of my music is actually just narcissism? I feel like
there's kind of, you mentioned just kind of like you're almost like defying your own expectations when putting something out or working on something,
Yeah.
which I think can be narcissistic for some people, like depending on like the mindset where you're like, I just want to feel appreciated and celebrated.
Right.
And there's other, and I think for a lot more people almost, it's just something like, I need to put this out. I need to make something. It's more
Yeah.
of like not even like a desire. It's just like an unconscious like urge where you're like, I need to create something.
Yeah.
And I need to finish this. And the only real logical end result is to either perform it, put it out, or both.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like the world that we live in.
Right. Yeah. 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 I think it's really just about the content. Obviously, so I was saying that I use music to like get through things. But if I'm just like a boy crazy little teenager, then of course, like the things that I need to get through are all going to be love songs.
Yeah.
So that was very frustrating for me just to be like looking back at everything I've ever written and they're like 99% love songs. And I'm like, wow, can you like get a life? That's just like embarrassing for me. So I've just like been trying over the years to just like, you know, be about something more than what you were programmed to be about. So getting to that is super cool. And it's also, I feel like music is just it's always just been a way to make myself do the shadow work without knowing it, basically exploiting a feeling. I guess a huge thing that has changed is that I've learned throughout the years how much music has become manifestation. So I'll write something, not know what it means. Really, it's just kind of poetic and abstract. Then like 6 months later, I apply those lyrics to what I thought I might be dealing with. And now I'm like in the thick of it. And I'm like, wow, that was my intuition and my subconscious saying like maybe the song maybe from Good Luck Finding Iris. I was getting my ass dragged through this little quote unquote situationship, and I was writing, well, maybe we're not meant to be. And then 6 months later, but I was still in the throes of my like obsessive, infatuation. And then 6 months later, I was like, wow, I knew it already, but I just
maybe you were meant to be.
Yeah. Exactly. But it helped me get there too, maybe to sing that every day.
Yeah. I even if it's just like a simple daily catharsis, I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Since we've talked a bit about just how much this project was just you attempting to like find out what would it be like if I fulfilled like 99% of the creative roles. Having done that now, and including even the music video that you put out, which you shot, directed, edited, did pretty much a lot of like the big stuff for the video, for lack of a better technical term.
Yes.
Having done all of that and continuing to do all of that, what was that experience like? Now that you have maybe even just a little bit of hindsight, now that the EP's been out for a few weeks, and at least that phase is. That chapter is tentatively closing.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot. It was just so much, and I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. But now it's like I get to apply all of what I learned. Like I like mixing, yes, when I can handle it, but I don't like getting lost in a mix and forcing myself to stay there and like not reaching out for help because I'm so stupidly stubborn. So I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to acknowledge when I've hit a wall and then reach out so that I'm not wasting my time and my energy that I could be giving somewhere else. So it's really
like finding
learning,
the time or the space to
where to delegate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's going to help me, but I do like to maintain control. And I think it's really cool also to be learning like who I work with well. So what's been cool is like having friends like Morgan Winston and Rihanna Hajduk. I think that's how I say her last name. Hajduk. Yeah. They're just a cool couple women photographer friends. And Rihanna did the Rift cover, the title and the single cover photo shoot. And it was just so cool to talk with her and work with her. And get on the same page and know that I was bringing so much already. Like, this is how it's going to be. These are like the influences. I want these colors. And then just to leave it up to her, who I trusted with, the quality of her
Take
work.
the second half of
Exactly.
that artistic creation.
Yeah. And just really trust that, like, I'm with somebody who's talented, somebody who's on the same page, somebody who's giving, and really generous and is down to do the work for the work and not just for, the money or the clout.
Since I think Caleb worked on some Good Luck Finding Iris stuff too. What was it like kind of reconnecting with him, even just for his work on the one song out of 5? But just what was that process like, and kind of just involving him? What did he bring to the table? How did you find the need to kind of delegate that to, especially to him, someone who has such a distinct kind of sense of things and musical palette?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Caleb, so it's cool because we had worked on My Side and a couple other tracks like a couple years ago. So it was really like, I think it was like 2019 that we had worked on that. So it was just sitting in his vault. I was just assuming that it was just sitting there. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, can we finish this? Because listening back, I think I was scared of how it sounded 2 years ago. And now I had just like gotten used to how it sounded. And I started to like it, and I was like, wow, actually this is a good song. I think it was just because I could hear so much of his influence on, production and mix, that had initially scared me off. And I think that's just a problem of demoitis when I sit on a song for so long and it's like, well, it sounds super muddy and bad and like really small and gross, but I've listened to it this way for like 2 years. So I want it to be a lot better, but it can't sound any different. So that was a problem. But reaching out to him, I'm so thankful. And I think it's also just a matter of realizing like he is so awesome, so great to work with, and he's going to give his influence and his sound a little bit to your sound.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to work with him on specific songs because I'm like, I know where he's going to fit really well when I'm working on a specific track.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to look forward to. Is just like, yes, there are future Caleb collaborations coming along because I can hear him and I need his specific addition.
No, that I think pretty much anytime anyone talks about like his production work, especially, I find that comes up, and that's not something you can say for a lot of, I guess, just producers, if you will, kind of on that end of things. So I'm biased. I'm a diehard Happy Children fan, so I always want to bring it up.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. What was kind of like the finishing process like for this? Like finishing up like the track list, making sure you had all the right songs, and tying that fateful bow on a lot of it. Especially given that it's been such a work in progress for so many years.
The entire release process was kind of like looking through some like emo bangs. Like you can't see what's going on. Like you can't, you're like, oh no. I don't know.
I do not see that.
I just made that up on the spot. And so I'm so sorry I said that. I'll take it back. But it was just like chasing deadlines because I didn't have the bird's eye view that I had wanted to have. It was just like every day's got to be out. At least we have the cover art for that, so we can do that. And we've got it submitted a month before. Now we're racing for the next deadline now. And then like I was like, oh no, I'm falling behind. Well, that's a good thing because it's gotten too fast, like the way that I've exactly. So it was just a little bit chaotic, and I did not like it because I was just rushing and I was settling for things, maybe settling for some cover art because I hadn't given myself the time to get what I wanted. Things worked out, and I'm happy that now I can see my EP in retrospect as like a complete project, and I feel really proud about it. And I think they all flow together. But when I was releasing and the release process, I did not have that vision. I was like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well,
Here's
when
the
you're
next one.
in the metaphorical trenches of like dropping singles and putting everything together, you can't. It's hard to see the
Yeah.
bigger picture.
Yeah. Only now do I feel confident. The entire time I was like, oh, okay.
This is fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. At least that it kind of came full circle.
Right.
Yeah. So my last question about the EP writ large, I suppose, with that bit of hindsight that we've mentioned before, what is a part that particularly stands out to you that you're really proud of, that you would maybe call a highlight, and it doesn't have to be something that maybe like, well, it's hard to say because you did mostly everything, but like regardless of what it is in your overall creative experience with this, what were maybe one or two of the points that stand out to you that you're like, I'm really happy with how that turned out, or given how difficult it was to make this happen, I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, what were some of those particular challenges that you can still like remember? Like you're listening back to one of the songs and you remember a part, like, oh, that was a pain in the ass to put together, but
Yeah.
it turned out well. Like, so just kind of both sides of the coin of like something you're really, really proud of and something that you had to really work to overcome.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like a low light because that implies that it's still negative, but
Right.
it's just like a part that was difficult to achieve, difficult to work through.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are like those highs and lows. They're connected because it's like I had to get through the low, and then it's like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. So it's just like mixing was so frustrating for me, just to not know what I'm doing, to be so stubborn and be like, you have to do it, to get so lost in the mix, and then to finally, basically, I lost my phone for 3 days. And of course, I'm just a little bit chaotic. I don't back up my phone, so I just had to. It was like submit to the idea that not submit. What is it? I had to give up and let go of the fact that I didn't actually lose my phone, so I didn't lose anything. But when I thought I did,
And during those 3 days.
yes, right, those 3 days, I was like, I just lost all of my voice memos, all of the like the little guitar riffs that I have just stumbled across and recorded in my phone, all of those notes, like all of those lyrics. I lost all of that. And when I finally, after like on the third day, I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'm abundant. I'm just going to keep writing. I'm always going to keep writing. It's always going to be better. It's fine. I got to that. Then somebody reached out and found my phone. I was like, okay, cool.
That's like the universe kind of like pranking you a little bit. It's like, yoinking your phone and then giving it back once you've kind of hit that point of acceptance.
Exactly. But it was only until that happened and I had let go of everything and was like, I'll be fine. Like, it'll be fine. That was what allowed me to send my mixes off to this random guy on Sound Better. I was like, I'm finally ready to give up control because I had just like thought that I had lost all of my work.
Yeah.
So that was so frustrating. I remember just like sitting in like frustrating like little tears and just like, I can't figure this out because I don't know what I'm doing. And then also simultaneously being able to mix the first time and riffed by myself. I'm just so proud that I did that because I mixed Wasted Time by myself. And then I was like, that was the goal, is like, I'm going to make this first EP. I'm going to stand on top of it. Like, I did this, and that's the baseline. And you can all look at me and my future collaborations, and nobody can deny my additions because y'all can hear it, and I already proved it. And that's just like me being hyper independent, like perceiving that preemptive idea that like men won't value my music, value what I do because or just give me the benefit of the doubt, like that she
they're
actually
just gonna disregard
things.
it no matter what.
Right.
That's the thing. Like there's plenty of people who will see that EP and still be like, there's no way you did this yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I did. Screw you. Like,
Yeah.
And
It's
being
just,
able to say that is hopefully like some defiant joy there.
Right, yeah, but that stubbornness was stopping me because I don't know anything. It takes years to become a master, not a master, but like a master mixer. Yeah, it takes
Or even
years
just
to do that.
proficient, yeah.
Exactly. So I was really holding myself to this unfair standard, and so I'm glad to have learned that. I'm just really proud that Rift came together so fast. If people end up watching the video, I think, like I explained that for over 20 minutes, why that was fun to create. But there are things in the first time was not goodbye that I'm not happy with. But I don't care. I don't care. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to make new music. It's done.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's out there, and that also can kind of give you like a point of reference for like, it's like this is finalized, this is out there. I wish I'd done this differently.
Yeah.
Instead of tinkering with this song that's already out, here's how I can do that differently for new stuff that I'm working on.
Especially that I have Good Luck Finding Iris stuff that, oh my gosh, it just cringes me to listen to a couple of our songs. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe people listen to that.
You were like 18, 19,
Exactly.
like that's the thing.
Exactly. It's just I'm not worried about my most recent EP. I'm totally good with that.
Yeah.
Especially when I have like, there are some other stuff on my SoundCloud.
Oh dear.
And then of course the GarageBand stuff. I go
Yeah.
back to that just to give myself a little taste. Like, yeah,
This is where it started. This
is where it all
we're past
began.
this, but we're good.
Yeah.
One more time, the EP is Rift. It came out a few weeks ago. It's available, I think, only on all streaming services. I don't know if there's like anywhere you can buy it or anything.
Probably not.
It's Bandcamp. Come on,
Yeah, I should get on that.
you should get on that. Like that's at least my default
Yeah.
place to check, especially because like you can add like all the credits and everything. And
Nice.
I'm just like that, and I don't know if other people are like that, but I'll
I'll get there. There.
Bandcamp Friday. I don't know if there's a December one, but it's coming soon.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. So one thing that I kind of just discovered while just reading, like listening to all of your older music and just kind of getting everything, you've been very active on both YouTube and TikTok and just really working really hard on the kind of social media engagement side of things, which I think is a part that can kind of go untalked about, unappreciated, despite the fact that it is usually so much work. Like,
yeah.
just even doing like a little bit of it is a lot of work. And you've been doing like some covers, behind the scenes stuff, like the Rift video that you just mentioned that you uploaded yesterday. Just kind of TikTok is a lot more free flowing and just kind of a lot more different.
Right.
A lot of it's just kind of like you unfiltered. But what are some of the like benefits you've gotten from putting a lot of time and effort into this almost expected part of being an independent musician nowadays? And what have been some of the parts that you wish you didn't have to deal with, but you kind of suck it up because you know that like you still want to go through with making this content, working hard on this? Another kind of like flip side, two sides of the coin kind of question.
Yeah. I think TikTok is what it is. I feel like everybody just has to be on TikTok. You just have to try it because you can be eating a carrot and go viral for no reason.
True.
You know, like it's just like you have to put your tickets, like you have to buy your free tickets to the lottery. Like they're just free. You just show up every day or whatever, try your best. And it also taught me a lot about how just vile people are on the internet, especially that app. It's just like, so know what you're saying, believe in what you're saying, and word it nicely. And if you're gonna do something, do it nicely because people prefer certain things. Like, it's just, it's you get into trouble, so be a good person. You'll get, even if you are a good person, like you're gonna get hate for it.
Yeah.
Because people are
just
vile.
awful online.
So yeah, exactly. It's a little taste of probably what major celebrities have to deal with all the time. Is just like
a micro example. Of just like anonymous assholes telling you that you suck for no reason.
Exactly. Just like, or just like, people just take your words and spin it because it's that. It's a really great learning experience, but it's also very, very toxic. And I think YouTube, on the other hand, is a place where I want to talk about a bunch of things that I care about and then give it the appropriate amount of time and thought to talk about the nuance, whereas TikTok is like you get 60 seconds to talk about something.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, but you will never get that deep. And I think that's part of the problem of TikTok is like people think they're talking about things, people think they're making points, but they're like you've said things in 60 seconds. Like you have said nothing. Like you might have made a small point, but like
or like hinted at a larger point,
right?
But yeah, people definitely get too ambitious on there where they you don't acknowledge the fact that 60 seconds is not a lot of time to explain anything with any sort of care or detail.
Exactly. So it's also growing an appreciation now for like long format content. And I like using YouTube as like a way of like learning how other people think about things and spirituality stuff and just that realm. So that's allowing me to expand in that way without the pressure. Whereas TikTok is like
an expectation and it sucks.
It's so wild. TikTok is so wild. So yeah, there's been a lot of work that's gone into that. And it's really just a balancing game of what's really going to push the needle for me? Because I only have so much time. I only have so much energy. So is it going to be stupid TikTok videos every day? Probably not. Is it going to be YouTube videos? Definitely not. Like, definitely not. So it really is like I can do that if I want to and if I have the time and if I deem it important. But it is very much a distraction and it's very toxic and detrimental to my mental health. But I felt like I had to be on there throughout the entire release process because you do.
Yeah.
Nobody else is promoting my music. That's also another huge point I want to talk about is young artists and people need to support each other. Don't just support somebody because you want them to know that you support them. The clout aspect of like that networking thing. Don't just support them because you think they're cool and you think that they'll repost your repost.
Like
or
maybe they'll follow me back and they have more followers than me. That'll be huge.
Exactly. But don't not repost because you're on some insecurity thing. Because I've noticed that in myself. It's like I won't repost or I'll sleep on other people who have no followers, who have the same amount of followers, who have 5 more followers than I do. But I'm like, I'm not going to repost it because there's a secret part of me that I'm not acknowledging that's like, oh, their success is my failure. And that's just the competitive aspect of the entertainment industry. Like it's just a myth that we perpetuate and eat up because our egos love that stuff.
Yeah.
But nobody's promoting my stuff, so I'm gonna be my biggest promoter. Beyond that, it's everybody in my social circle. If they promote me, or we're talking about like any situation, like I could promote other people as well. But if they promote me, that's the only other person who's gonna promote me. Like it's so important. It's either me or my friends.
It's just building community.
Yeah, that's it. So it's really like I think it's really important that people are acknowledging their egotistical insecurities and stuff that are stopping them from supporting and helping their friends or peers in the music industry.
Maybe it's just because we were kind of talking about this before we started recording, but when you talked about how people will only support other artists or other people in their artistic community or any kind of situation like that writ large, made me think of how a lot of times with like people giving to organizations or giving like the church and whatnot, especially, they're like, they do it very publicly because they want people to think that they're so like, oh, they're such a good person. They're so generous. They're so great. Or, oh, they're such a cool artist. They're supporting their friends or like they're supporting everyone else. Like you're not doing it because you want to actually either support someone else or lift someone else up or affect positive change or whatever. You just want to do it because you want people to see that you do it and give you claps for it.
Yeah, there's very much a performative aspect because because it's like it's inherent. Like if you are publicly posting about something or putting something in your story, it is reflecting on you. Like so that's just anything. But it's
just how our brains have been molded by like social media and just how we work as people nowadays.
Yeah, but it's also like the lack of thought behind those like subtle feelings that really people we do things like subconsciously we don't even know what we're doing. We're not even thinking about what we're doing or why we're doing it. So it's I always think those are super interesting things.
No, that is, I'm glad you brought that up. So looking forward, actually, for the first time looking forward instead of just covering everything else. You've already mentioned, I think in that current interview, that you've worked on some new music that has been coming along pretty well. You mentioned that you have some songs you might work on with Caleb in the future, but where are you kind of headed after this? I mean, I know it's still pretty recent after the EP came out, so I hope you've been able to, like, it sounds like you have appreciate and be proud of yourself for putting out anything, because that's always a huge deal. But looking beyond that, where is your horizon kind of set? What's your destination, if you even have a loose idea of the next step or two?
Yeah, this is a super exciting time. I felt like once I was like finishing up the EP, I was like, yes, I'm on the cusp of abundance. I can do whatever I want. Like I'm finally releasing myself of this mental, burden. So now I have been trying to make plans. I still haven't finalized them, but I'm thinking I won't release music for like another year. I'm just gonna hunker down. This is gonna be my year, which is really exciting because I was like, last year I turned 23. Like, it's my Jordan year. Like I'm finally gonna do things. Like I just whatever.
Your Jordan year. I've never heard that.
right. No, it's just something to make me feel better. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, actually, this is my year. This is where I get to like kind of really hide out if I want to, post some YouTube about things that I care about if I want to, everything if I want to, just focus on a next project or couple projects that I can work on, make sure that I get my bird's eye view, apply like the lessons that I learned from this last EP and release process. And just make sure that I can really focus on, feeding myself good food, drinking water, like really the self, it's not even self-care. It's just like operating.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that is self-care, just like operating at a normal capacity. It's like, this is something I take for granted or don't always do.
Exactly. So really focusing on that because the social media stuff has gotten to me. It's run its course. Yeah. And now I get to really sit back and start living my life. But I also feel like I have shifted in mentality after finally like having legs to stand on as an artist. Now there's not this rush to be like, I need to put something out.
There needs to be a first thing.
Yeah. And I'm behind in life. It's that has been how I felt for the past entire years, entire life.
That's kind of almost like contrary to like, there's like the saying that you have forever to work on your debut album, and then you have only a certain amount of time to work on the follow-up.
Yeah, no.
You're kind of doing that like,
the opposite.
Almost like both. You're having it both ways, where you spent all this time working on the first EP, but then you're still deliberately choosing to take as much time as you need to work on the next things and kind of get in touch with the core ideas.
Yeah, the rush is all fake. It's all in your head. There is no rush. And especially like if I can really appreciate and like view my music as how I would like ideally like to view my music, as in it's a work of art
instead of like
it doesn't
through a capitalistic
need to come
lens.
out. Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't need to come out fast. That's something that my manager said. She was like, your music isn't fast. It's gonna do well over time. People don't know who you are. We just don't worry about it. Like you're gonna
you've planted the tree, the roots are growing, and it'll take time from there.
Exactly. And I'm really leaning into that now. It's like, yes, even with the playlisting, like Every Damn Day got playlisted recently. It's just like, that's such another one of my managers was like, that's just for the industry people. Like these numbers, like sure they're numbers, but numbers are nothing. And like I just imagine this is going to be like a nice little push for like 2-3 weeks. And then it's
Yeah.
going to die back down. My numbers are going to go back down. I'm going to hide out for the rest of the year. But at least now all these industry people know who I am. So
Yeah.
they're looking out for me. It's just like, it's a long journey. Let's sit back. Like I am who I am, and I'm not expecting myself to be 30-year-old Mike Kota right now. Like 30-year-old Mike Kota is so fucking awesome. I don't know what she's doing, but she's done a lot.
Yeah.
But I am 23-year-old Mike Kota right now. So just chill and be with her. I feel like there's like some Rupi Kaur quote that's like, you'll never have this version of yourself. Slow down and be with her. But I was like, straight up.
Yeah. It hits sometimes. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah. Awesome. I like ending interviews the same way, as well as how I like starting them the same way. I like asking, what are some local artists or musicians or bands or even just creatives that maybe you haven't worked with, maybe you have, that you've just really been enjoying or appreciating recently? Just kind of anyone you want to shout out.
Yes.
Like, what's a band you've been listening to lately? What's maybe like someone you've worked with recently that you want to even shine some more light on? And just, this is like the honorary shout out period of the episode.
Cool. Yeah, I would say obviously my best friend, Josephine, she was going by Josie for a while, but now she changed her name to Josephine. I just played a show with her and Modern Nun, so in Chicago.
Okay.
So they're my friends. They're all badass. But Josephine, she's got some more music coming out very soon. She's wrapping up one of her like first proper music videos, so that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And also, I think Modern Nun is coming out with their first proper EP early next year, so that'll be something to look out for. I'm really excited to like be hanging out with Papa and
May?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And then like Zach Kahn. Like I've hung out with him one time to make music, but slowly I feel like I'm finally introducing myself or like getting introduced to the music scene here. I'm very much a recluse, but it's very exciting to make those connections. I hung out with Papa and Rihanna the other day to like make some music. And it was very, very fun. Let's see. There was one other person I wanted, but I already forgot. Yeah. So
I'll just doubly vouch for Papa, because I'm almost like baffled that no one has shouted him out in the podcast so far. Because like whenever the mics aren't rolling, I feel like people keep on just either playing his stuff or recommending. And like, I think the show he played with Bugsy a while ago was like, I've had more than one person say like that was like one of the best shows I've ever been to or played. Yeah. So just, unless you have anyone else to shout out, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, wait, Lutalo, my best friend Lutalo. He's finishing up. Okay, this is actually, I'm so sorry. Lutalo Lutalo is my favorite artist. I can't believe he's my best friend. Can't believe he's been on this Adrian Lenker tour.
Yeah.
But then he got sick, so I don't think he's going to be able to play the rest of the show, so I won't get to see him. But that's okay, because I'm just so proud of him. But he is also working on his first EP, and he's going to just blow up. He's incredible. So Lutalo, everybody.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Yes, of course. Thank you actually for coming by and talking about the EP. Like we've said, like hopefully 4 or 5 times, and you've already saved it by now or just know how to. But Rift is available everywhere. Definitely give it a listen. Stay tuned for more stuff. Want to just like plug any social media? Just, I know you're kind of going on the DL, but at least this way, when you do resurface, whenever you have more music to put out, then that way people will know. Yeah, go follow my Instagram or my my YouTube. TikTok will be there, but I don't know how reliable. We'll leave that one to the side. You know it exists. We're not going to plug it. Yes. Awesome. Thank you again, Mike. Thank you so much.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @Ear Coffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.